Welcome back to Chelder, the channel where history comes alive. Sometimes literally. Today, we're diving into the world of one of humanity's most infamous foes, the plague. From mysterious origins to bizarre cures and grim consequences, these 30 fascinating plague facts will have you appreciating modern medicine and maybe giving your local rat a second glance. Let's get started before things get contagious. Fact number 1. The plague isn't just one disease. The word plague is an umbrella term for multiple outbreaks caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis. This bacterium triggers 3 forms of the disease: bubonic, septicemic, and pneumonic. Bubonic is the most infamous, known for its swollen lymph nodes, while pneumonic is the most terrifying because it spreads through the air, making it a medieval nightmare that could travel faster than gossip in a royal court. Fact number 2. Bubonic plague gets its name from its signature symptom. The term bubonic derives from the grotesque buboes, or swollen lymph nodes, that form near the groin, armpits, or neck. These lumps were often excruciatingly painful and could grow as large as apples. Combine that with fever, chills, and blackened skin, and you had a disease that turned you into a walking horror story. Fact number 3. Fleas were the culprits, but rats got the blame. The actual spreaders of the plague were fleas carrying Yersinia pestis. However, since these fleas lived on rats, the rodents became the scapegoats. In reality, the rats were just innocent bystanders giving the fleas a lift, like a medieval Uber service for one of history's deadliest passengers. Fact number 4. The Black Death killed up to 60% of Europe's population. In the mid-14th century, the Black Death devastated Europe, wiping out between 25 and 50 million people in just a few years. To put that in perspective, imagine every other person in your town disappearing almost overnight. Entire communities vanished, leaving behind ghost towns and an eerie silence that must have felt apocalyptic. Fact number 5. The plague reshaped labor and wages. With a massive portion of the population wiped out, surviving workers suddenly became a rare commodity. This scarcity led to higher wages and better working conditions for many. Essentially, the plague inadvertently sparked early workers' rights movements, though it was a rather extreme way to ask for a raise. Fact number 6. The ring around the rosy nursery rhyme myth. Ring around the rosy is often said to describe the plague, with rosy symbolizing the rash, pocket full of posies as the herbs people carried to ward off disease, and ashes representing cremation. While historians debate the accuracy of this theory, it does make the seemingly innocent rhyme a lot darker and much less nursery-friendly. Fact number 7. Medieval plague doctors were walking nightmares. Plague doctors wore bird-like masks filled with aromatic herbs, believing the scent would protect them from bad air, which they thought caused disease. The mask's long beak and dark robes gave them an ominous look, making them the medieval equivalent of walking Halloween costumes, but with a far more terrifying purpose. Fact number 8. Quarantines were born during the plague. The practice of quarantine started in Venice during the plague. Ships suspected of carrying the disease had to wait offshore for 40 days. Hence the term quaranta giorni, meaning 40 days in Italian. This early attempt at social distancing likely saved thousands of lives, proving that even in the 1300s, people knew to keep a safe distance. Fact number 9. The plague created ghost towns across Europe. When the plague struck, some villages lost so many inhabitants that they were abandoned entirely. These deserted settlements became eerie reminders of the disease's wrath, and many remain untouched even today, offering a haunting glimpse into a time when death moved faster than life. Fact number 10. Cats and dogs were also victims of plague paranoia. In an attempt to curb the spread of the plague, people turned on animals, slaughtering countless cats and dogs. Unfortunately, this likely backfired, as fewer cats meant more rats to carry infected fleas. So, in trying to solve the problem, they may have made it even worse. Poor medieval logic strikes again. Fact number 11. The Justinian plague may have altered the course of history. The Justinian plague, which ravaged the Byzantine Empire in the 6th century, killed millions and weakened the empire significantly. Historians believe this outbreak played a role in the empire's eventual decline, paving the way for new powers, like the rise of Islam and the spread of European kingdoms. Fact number 12. The plague hasn't vanished. It's still around today. Although it feels like ancient history, the plague hasn't gone extinct. Each year, hundreds of cases are reported worldwide, often in rural areas. However, thanks to modern antibiotics, the disease is treatable today, making it far less threatening than when it once darkened the world. Fact number 13. Plague-inspired art embraced the macabre. The horrors of the plague birthed the Danse Macabre, or Dance of Death, a popular artistic theme in medieval Europe. It depicted skeletons joyfully leading humans to their doom, reminding everyone that death comes for all. Talk about cheerful home decor for the 14th century. Fact number 14. London's last major plague outbreak came just before the Great Fire. The Great Plague of London in 1665 killed nearly 100,000 people. Just a year later, the Great Fire of London swept through the city, unintentionally helping to curb the disease by destroying the rat-infested urban areas. A grim silver lining to a fiery disaster. Fact number 15. Plague pits still lie beneath modern cities. During the Black Death, mass graves were dug to bury the overwhelming number of dead. Many of these plague pits still exist beneath bustling urban areas like London. Occasionally, construction projects unearth these somber relics, bringing history and its horrors back to light. Fact number 16. The plague inspired some truly bizarre cures. Desperation breeds creativity, and medieval people certainly got creative with their plague remedies. Bathing in urine, eating crushed emeralds, or drinking mercury were just a few of the treatments attempted. Some even carried fragrant herbs, believing they could ward off the bad air thought to cause illness. While none of these remedies worked, they do make modern medicine seem a lot less terrifying. Fact number 17. Venice pioneered plague islands. The Venetians, masters of maritime trade, took drastic measures to stop the plague. Suspected carriers were sent to isolated islands, like the infamous Poveglia, where they were left to recover or die. While effective at limiting the spread, these islands became eerie dumping grounds for the sick, and their haunted reputations persist to this day. Fact number 18. The plague may have kick-started the Renaissance. The devastation of the Black Death brought significant societal shifts. The sudden reduction in population redistributed wealth, weakened feudalism, and spurred innovation. With fewer workers available, survivors demanded higher wages and better conditions. These changes created an environment ripe for the flourishing of art, science, and culture that defined the Renaissance. Fact number 19. Flagellants took plague penance to extremes that in the 14th century. A group called the Flagellants believed the plague was divine punishment for humanity's sins. They marched through towns, whipping themselves bloody in acts of public penance. Though they hoped to appease an angry god, their bloody displays likely spread the disease further, turning their holy mission into a tragic irony. Fact number 20. The bacterium Yersinia pestis is incredibly resilient. The plague-causing bacterium isn't just deadly, it's a survivalist. It can linger in soil, fleas, and rodents for years, waiting for favorable conditions to strike again. Its adaptability is why the plague has survived for centuries, proving to be one of nature's most persistent killers, an ancient nemesis with modern staying power. Fact number 21. The Mongols weaponized the plague. In 1347, Mongol forces besieging the city of Kaffa reportedly catapulted plague-infected corpses over the walls to infect the defenders. This gruesome act is considered one of the earliest instances of biological warfare. While horrifying, it highlights how even in medieval times, humans found ways to turn disease into a weapon. Fact number 22. The plague disrupted medieval trade routes. As the plague spread, fear of infection paralyzed trade networks. Ports were closed, roads were blocked, and towns turned away merchants, causing widespread economic collapse. Crops rotted in the fields, and famine often followed outbreaks, making the plague a double-edged sword of death and starvation. Fact number 23. Some villages self-isolated to save others. In 1665, the English village of Eyam became a symbol of sacrifice during the Great Plague. After the disease arrived via a flea-infested shipment, the villagers chose to quarantine themselves to prevent the spread to nearby communities. Their selflessness cost many lives, but likely saved countless others. A heroic act of collective courage. Fact number 24. The plague was originally called the Great Mortality. Before being dubbed the Black Death, it was simply known as the Great Mortality, emphasizing the staggering number of deaths it caused. The term Black Death appeared later, referring not only to the dark spots on victims' bodies, but also to the unparalleled darkness it cast over the world. Fact number 25. The plague influenced medieval fashion. To combat the bad air thought to carry the plague, medieval people accessorized with pomanders, scented balls of perfume carried on chains. Outfits often included pockets or compartments for herbs and spices. These attempts to stay safe were more about style than science, but they did give medieval fashion an unexpected fragrant twist. Fact number 26. The Black Death led to the rise of plague saints. With science unable to explain the plague, many turned to religion. Saints like Roch and Sebastian became associated with protection against the disease. Pilgrims flocked to their shrines, hoping for miracles. While their prayers might not have stopped the spread, they provided a sense of hope amidst despair. Fact number 27. The plague thrived in medieval cities. Urban areas with cramped living spaces, open sewers, and poor hygiene were perfect breeding grounds for the plague. Rats and fleas thrived in these conditions, spreading the disease rapidly. If you lived in a medieval city, surviving the plague was as much about luck as it was about avoiding your neighbors. Fact number 28. The Black Death likely began in Asia. Before ravaging Europe, the Black Death is believed to have originated in Central or East Asia, possibly in China. It spread westward along the Silk Road, carried by traders and merchants. By the time it reached Europe, it was a global pandemic in an era that didn't even know what globalization meant. Fact number 29. The plague is classified as a re-emerging disease. Although the plague no longer devastates the world, it's far from extinct. Cases still emerge in parts of Africa, Asia, and even the Americas, often in rural areas. Its status as a re-emerging disease reminds us that history's deadliest killers sometimes still lurk in the shadows. Fact number 30. Vaccines for the plague exist, but aren't commonly needed. Modern medicine has developed vaccines for the plague, but they're mainly reserved for high-risk areas or researchers studying the disease. Thanks to antibiotics, most cases today can be treated effectively, meaning we've come a long way since the days of leeches and crushed emeralds. And there you have it, 30 grim, gross, and surprisingly intriguing facts about the plague. If you enjoyed this descent into history's darker corners, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Who knows? Next time, we might uncover facts about something equally wild, hopefully less deadly. Until then, stay curious, stay safe, and avoid any suspicious-looking fleas. See you next time on Chelder.